Hi, it's Elaine and welcome to my Homespa Beauty podcast. Today I'm chatting with Jude from The Wee Blondie. So she started off as a blogger, but really now she is a psoriasis warrior. She has made it her business to really increase the profile of everyone that's got something to say about the psoriasis community, about how everybody treats you in the psoriasis community. And she is not only a lovely person and so easy to talk to, but she's got a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience to share. So I hope you enjoy our chat, and please feel free, if you like it, to drop me any comments, leave me any suggestions about anyone else you would like me to chat with. Hi Jude, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Elaine. How are you?
Oh, really good. I'm so happy to speak with you. And I was actually having a think about when we first met. And do you know that there's some things that we've covered or we've been at the same time, and I've completely forgotten about it until you start thinking back. And do you remember how we met?
I
You
do
see, when it
remember
comes
how we
back,
met. I do. I won a consulting session with you and Alan over
yes.
coffee and cake.
And that was hilarious because I remember thinking, someone approached me and said, "Oh, do you think you could offer anything?" It was the blogger event. I was like,
Uh-huh,
"Oh, well,
uh-huh.
I don't think I've got anything worthy of helping anyone." And I thought, "Oh, well, I suppose ourselves, maybe if we can have a chat." And then when you won, whether you think it was a good or a bad present, we went for coffee and cake, and it was just me and yourself,
Yeah.
and we just clicked.
We did, and it was great, and I loved it, and I got so much out of that. Not just that session, but then I think, just becoming friends with you guys on a
Yeah.
personal and professional level has just been absolutely fantastic, and a barrel of laughs. Like I can't, we're always howling, when we meet up
Oh,
with
it's
each other,
funny.
and the weird
And
and
there's
wonderful
always
conversations
something.
we have.
Exactly. And you were my first experience of someone who had been blogging, but I hadn't actually, sometimes you see bloggers and you think, oh, they'll never speak to me, or they're someone that probably won't answer an email. And all I knew about bloggers were the people that I followed. And then there
Hmm.
was this blogger event, and I just presumed that when I spoke to you, that I might actually find that you knew far more than me, and you might actually say, oh, do you know what, it's been lovely, thank you ever so much, but it's not really what I'm looking for. But instead, you introduced me to a lot of Scottish bloggers, including yourself, that I had no idea about.
Hmm.
And I think, well, I'm presuming that what I did as well was I sort of let you know a little bit about YouTube and
Hmm.
just all that kind of side of things. I think we spoke about the classic Scottish, we're all frightened to film, or we're all a little bit hesitant
Yes.
to film. Yeah, I remember that. And filming wise, is that something that you are still looking into?
It's something I'm getting better at, but I need to kind of be forced into a corner to do it. So I work with a pharmaceutical company creating psoriasis content, and they get me to do at least one blog a year. And I kind of very reluctantly do it because I hate myself on camera. And last year I went out and did a European campaign for them about psoriasis, and I loved doing it. I loved filming it, but I hate watching it back. I'm literally just like, did I really sound like that?
Oh, I don't think anyone ever gets used to it. And even when I'm doing the YouTube videos, you start to notice things, and I've calmed down now, but people that watch them might not realize. You might even see something silly like a freckle. You're like, I've never seen that freckle before, where'd that come from? And you'll be watching things and you go, oh, my hand looks funny there, my hand looks huge next to the camera. And all these little things that you analyze, and or even silly things like when I was in front of the camera last year when I was doing some vlogs, and maybe a stray bit of hair, and it's like,
Hmm.
why didn't I see that? Why didn't? And then you start, well, you can go down the road of being super critical, but then I think eventually you have to make a decision where you say, oh, do you know what? What does it really matter? Am I happy with the
Yeah.
content? So do you do that too, where you say, right, am I happy with what I said? Do I feel as if I got the point across? And then you can just say, right, okay, we'll let it go out. We'll let the video do its thing.
Yeah, definitely. So I usually record it 3 or 4 times, and then I'll send the version that I think is the best, with a little footnote that says, by the way, there's 3 other versions if you don't like this one. But going back to
Excellent.
what you were saying about, the things you pick out, I always speak with my hands, but I didn't realize how claw-like they were, or pincer-like. Like, I
Oh no.
find myself being like a crab, and like, oh, it's horrendous. And I'm now really self-aware, especially on film, of what I'm doing with my hands, because
Yeah,
I can't stop.
I
Can't
know.
stop talking with them.
But that's the phrase politician hands comes into it, where you start very carefully using your hands to emphasize a point, and you're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh no, I look like a politician that's trying to get my point across here. But I know exactly what you mean. But I think it does come with time, and I think you start, like you say, you create a few versions, and then you actually start. It's a good thing, I think, when you can say, right, do you know what? I don't mind that version. I'm going to send that one because I'm
Yep,
happy with it. But again, I don't know if it's a Scottish thing. I think we're never really comfortable. People do say that to me. Scottish people tend to be more on the shy side. And we
absolutely.
tend, yeah,
And it's the
but
same with Instagram as well. Like,
mhm,
I send David all my Instagram photos. I'll send him like 3, and then I'll be like, what one? Because
yeah,
I
because we've
can't
got,
pick.
and I think that's interesting. I want to come onto Instagram as well because that is an area that just bamboozles me. And I know you were saying about some psoriasis issues with that. I
Yeah.
want to know more. Just before we get on to that, there's another thing, another event that we were both at. We didn't realise. I don't think we knew we were both at it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to, I think, the confidence that you have in yourself that I really admire. Also, the Scottish thing, and it's the Paul Smith event about maybe 3, possibly 4 years ago. Paul Smith had
Yes.
an event here in Glasgow, and I didn't know that you were at it. It was absolutely rammed. It was a full house, and he was
Mm-hmm.
doing a speech, and he was doing a little bit about his history, and then there was an exhibition. And again, I don't know if it's because everyone in the room is really in awe at someone like Paul Smith being here, or a little bit intimidated, but they normally do that thing where they say, would anyone like to ask any questions? And normally the room goes silent because everyone's too scared to raise their
Mm-hmm.
hand. And I was at the back, it was absolutely crammed.
Yep.
And I heard one voice and they said, yes, we've got somebody here. And it was you. And I just knew straight away, couldn't see you. And I was like, that's Jude. And I thought, go on, Jude, out of all of us. And I could see people that I recognised were Scottish designers. I recognised different faces from the Scottish blogging scene, up and coming names. And they were all too frightened to ask a question. And Jude's straight in there. And I thought, oh, fantastic. And I remember, did you not get a gift as well?
I did. I got a gift. That was a great day because my boss was meant to go and she couldn't, because she had something on, and she said to me, "Do you want to go?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, but it's during work time." And she was like, "And get to it." And I was like, "Amazing." So I went and I asked a question, and I got given a scarf. And afterwards,
I
I
remember.
met you afterwards because we went and got our photos
Yes,
taken together,
that's
and
right.
I got him to sign the scarf. And I'm about to move into my first flat, and I'm getting that framed, to put
Quite
on the
right.
wall because I'm still so in love with it. And I don't know
Yeah.
if you remember, but it was the day before my birthday, and I
Yes.
told Paul Smith that, and he wrote in his book, "Happy Birthday," and wished me a great day and stuff like that. And it was absolutely fantastic. Oh, that was a great day. I loved that.
Yes. And that is when I think of you, I think of a confident blogger who isn't afraid to be first in the queue to do something. That's my
Mhm.
first thoughts with you. And then that leads me on to the fact that you are. And so, do you call yourself, because I want to get the terms right, I think of you as a blogger primarily who
Mhm.
loves her fashion, but then
Mhm.
I know that what's really gaining momentum is a Psoriasis Warrior. And is that how you would
Yep.
describe yourself? Yeah.
So I would say, I don't. like calling myself a blogger or an influencer. I think it goes back to that Scottish thing again of like
Yeah,
not having the confidence to. So I just tell people that I talk about psoriasis on the internet,
right.
which kind of sums it up really. And I think that definitely the psoriasis is taking the forefront from the fashion, and that's okay. I'm happy with that because I can still get the fashion in there, but definitely the psoriasis is where it's happening right now. And because it's on my face, there's really no hiding it. I don't think you should hide it anyway. But
Mhm.
it's such a talking point that I decided to make it, to make it about that.
And I think what you do is it's very relatable because so many people don't like to talk about any skin issues that they've got.
Mm-hmm.
But as you know, when we've got a skin issue on our face, we have to tackle it. And some people
Absolutely.
can be so blunt. I mean, for
Yep.
me, so I've been with, it's definitely been I was lucky it wasn't acne, as in, you needed the full on medical help.
Yep.
But I definitely, from teens up until present day, get hormonal outbreaks, which I think could be sometimes little episodes of acne.
Yep.
Maybe you could call them, maybe you would call it mild acne, but from teens up until present day,
Yep.
if my hormones are playing games, if I'm very, very stressed, or sometimes I don't even know what the reason is, I
Uh-huh.
can get patches of time which can last from weeks into maybe a few months,
Mm-hmm.
where you can have breakouts to the point where they really do start to affect your confidence and you want to start cancelling things and you want to start avoiding things and you just want everything just you think to yourself, well, once this breakout eases off, I'll be fine and I'll reconnect with that person and I'll go for that lunch and I'll do this because you don't mean it to, but it starts to affect everything.
Absolutely. I have cystic acne. Um,
Ah,
yeah, so I've had it since a teen, but it wasn't
yeah,
actually diagnosed until I went to the dermatologist about my psoriasis. And my mum was kind of like, whilst you're going, just say to her, because I get them on my chin and on my back, and they're
right,
huge. And I said, look, just whilst I'm here, can you take a look at this? And she was like, yep, cystic acne. And I totally get that. And there's been times where I have cancelled on friends, and a great example of it
hmm,
is we share a good friend, James, who owns
yes,
Ryan James,
uh-huh,
and it was his store opening, and I went
uh-huh, I
along,
remember.
and I had two cystic spots on my chin, and my skin was flaring, and I think I went for 10 minutes, and I said, James, I have to go home. I was
Yeah,
like, I just can't do this. I'm in so much pain that I
mm,
can't, I'm not feeling good. And I just, quite honestly, I don't want to be here.
yeah,
Like, I love you. I support you. I
hmm,
want to be here and doing that, but I can't because my skin is just giving me so much hell right now. And I think that's really when you know who your true friends are, because he was like, go home then. Like, don't
yes,
worry about it. I'll catch up with you soon. Thank you for at least attempting to turn out. And there's been other times where I've cancelled on James or other friends, and that's when you really know who your friends are, because they're like, do not worry about it. Deal with the
yeah.
skin. Hope it gets better. But absolutely, and I think that sometimes as well in life when I meet new people, and especially when I was dating, I was always waiting for people to bring up the psoriasis, and it
Yeah.
kind of becomes the elephant in the room.
And that leads me on to the next thing. And again, I don't think there's many people who don't have something that they think's very visible that can make them feel really self-conscious.
Mhm.
And depending on where it is, you're waiting for people. And it's about just how thoughtless people can be. I mean, even an example is my mum had, you couldn't see it, she had a scar on her jaw from
Mhm.
when she had to have an operation in her teens, and
Yep.
you couldn't see the scar, but to her, it was, it basically had like a big ring round it with flashing lights. And she was always so self conscious about this scar on her jaw. And she would not believe any of us when we used to say, you can't see it. You have to physically point it out to us for us to see this faded little tiny white line.
Yeah.
But to her, she thought that the first thing that anyone knew saw was this great big scar on her jaw, and it didn't matter what you said, she wouldn't believe you. But then all it takes is one person who's either really nosy or just quite blunt that will say something like, "Oh, where'd you get that scar?" And that can undo
Oh yeah.
all of the things that everyone's ever said that legitimately didn't see it, didn't notice. So I
Exactly.
wondered, are you still surprised by how blunt people can be sometimes? Because I certainly am, just through doing beauty treatments, 99% of my experiences are great, but once in a blue moon, somebody will say something really blunt to you and it'll take you by surprise. And you're like, oh, and I can't even think of specifics just now, but say, for instance, it would be something like, some women have darker hairs on their arms than others.
Mm-hmm.
It could be something as blunt as somebody saying, well, you've got really dark hairs on your arms. Does it bother you? And then you might be thinking, oh, I never even
Yeah, I never
never
even thought
thought
of
about
that.
my hairs. And it
Um,
just something can, like, someone can say something and you're like, oh, that's a bit blunt.
yeah, I don't get surprised anymore.
No,
I've had some pretty brutal comments about
oh,
my skin.
that's good.
I just don't. Whenever people say things to me, I'm just like, ugh. But then I go online and I see all the positive comments and my faith's
Yes.
restored in humanity. But I do think that sometimes, and I call people out on it a lot, and I go, well, is there really any need to say that? Is there any really need
Exactly.
to know? Like, does that implement or affect your life at all? No, well, then you didn't really need to pass that comment or inquire about that, did you? Because I think that people are, people are nosy. It's being human, but they don't need to
Hmm.
be. Unless someone brings it up, don't bring it up because I mean everyone has something that they're insecure about. So my way of always tackling it is would you like it if someone brought up something you were insecure about? Well, then don't bring up something that they might be. Um,
Exactly.
and that's it, really.
Yeah, even just, I think the majority of people are too busy just enjoying chats and catch ups. But once in a while, I think when someone feels a need to bring something up, what's that? Or how did you get that? Or, oh, is there something wrong? I think that, particularly in today's world, that seems to be one of the issues that we've got with the artificial perfection and
Yeah.
the fact that we're all becoming. I mean, back even when I was a teenager, so we're going into the 90s teenager, and I know before that everyone else will have their own versions, but for us it was the rise of the photoshopped images. So when you were reading your magazines, you were aware that the pictures were artificially altered,
Hmm.
but it didn't stop you feeling absolutely rubbish about yourself, even though
Yeah.
you knew that it wasn't real. So I would be maybe about 16, 18, and it would be Cindy Crawford, Naomi Campbell, and
Hmm.
even though they are stunning to begin with and they don't need any help, they would always just put a little sheen on their skin,
Yep.
remove every pore from their face, and you couldn't help but think, right, I know this is a modified image, but wow, I feel rubbish now. Because then you'd
Hmm.
have a look in the mirror and you're like, oh, I've got pores. Oh, I don't look like that. I am not. But you know, again, that that's not real. But then
Hmm.
on social media now, which leads us on to Instagram, that is absolutely insane. So
Hmm.
do you find, I mean, again, none of us are looking at it thinking, oh, well, that's a real picture. That's realistic. We know even when we see a picture of somebody's stunning looking brunch, we know that that's been altered. But do you find that with your campaign, it's important for you to let people see this is real skin, this is a real person here? I've noticed that you will put up flare ups, which I think is amazing,
Hmm.
and just let people know, right, we're not sitting with lots of different filters here. This is a real day for me. This is the day that I'm having.
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think there needs to be more of it, but I think that you need to also be careful to not then put down people who do filter their photos. I think it's quite a difficult one. But with Instagram in particular, My Pale Skin blog did a fantastic campaign. I think it was in December, and she
Mhm.
actually looked into it and connected the way that we look at images online creates the same impact in the brain as, I'm sure it was PTSD.
Really?
um and she did this whole campaign with real women who had, acne, psoriasis, vitiligo, they had real skin issues, and they were talking about their experiences, and then they had their brain scanned, and it was great. So if you've not gone and seen it, find it on YouTube, because it's really fantastic and incredibly interesting.
Yeah,
um
well,
to know that we have that effect. And I think what comes into it then is that we have a younger generation coming up who are growing up on Instagram, who might not be aware that images are altered to the extent that they
mhm.
are. Now, it's funny that you brought up my photos, because I do put up photos of flares, but I still slap a filter on it.
See, that's interesting because
So,
I don't have an Instagram for myself, so I
mhm.
don't put up pictures of myself at all.
Yep.
So that's really interesting that you're saying that because my version of looking at these images are if I see something that looks poreless and gleaming and shiny, I think filter.
Hmm.
And then when I see someone saying this is me on a real day, I think no filter. But that just goes to show that I don't understand completely the scope of what you can do. So you can still keep it real, but freshen it up.
Yeah, so I just put a filter. So basically, I have fallen victim, shall we say, to having an Instagram theme. And
I
I
love
like
it.
to have all my Instagram photos have the same tone to them. So
Right, I
it's
get
more I just slap a filter on it so that it's in line with the
yes.
cool tones of all the other photos. So I'm not really editing the photo as such. I'm not smoothing anything out or making anything look more red or irritated, but I am putting a slight filter over it and adjusting the tone of that photo. So
Uh-huh.
it is real, but it's still slightly edited, not to an
Yeah,
extent of, if you looked at the photo and then looked at me, you'd be like, right, yeah, that's the same person. So
yeah.
it's not edited to that extent, but there's still work done to the image. It's not just a case of I take a selfie and it's straight to the upload. Um, it's yeah, there's a process
But that
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 goes
makes
through it.
sense because I understand too with Instagram. Um, I don't know about yourself, but so many people are saying now that what you used to be able to do that would guarantee you could reach your audience and your followers, just it's changing so quickly now. Is that the same case for you? Were there
Yep.
people that were receiving your latest notifications, your latest posts, your latest updates that are now actually saying, "Oh, I've not heard from you for a while," and it turns out that it's just Instagram dialing you down?
I've actually not found it too much.
Oh,
I find that my
that's good.
engagement is quite good, but I
Uh-huh.
think the psoriasis community is incredibly engaged, and it's not that saturated a market as
Hmm.
terms to the fashion Instagrammers. So there's lots and lots of fashion bloggers out there. There's lots of people doing that. So it is more saturated. So you are fighting for people's attention.
Yeah.
Whereas with the Instagram space, with the psoriasis Instagram space, I feel like there is a lot of people talking about psoriasis, but it's a much more supportive community, and we
Yeah.
all comment and like each other's, and it's not as much of a fight to be seen. And
Mhm.
I think also because there's a lot of not a lot of paid sponsorship work. I think that it's all kind of organic photos, that I think that helps as well, just in terms of that. But it's interesting that you bring this up, because we did speak about it before we started the podcast, which is I've
Yes.
actually noticed that my engagement is currently stalling because Instagram have blocked a lot of psoriasis hashtags, deeming the content offensive. And
Yes.
this is the second time in a
Uh-huh.
year this has happened.
And do you have any idea, are they, because I know there's a big issue with mental health, and are they just are they putting out blanket bans on words and they're not actually thinking about certain things that they're banning that just doesn't make any sense?
I think so. Last year when it happened, they came out and said that there had been a couple of images that had been reported, and therefore the hashtags were banned. However, that was a mistake, and they would not do that again,
Uh-huh.
because blanket bans don't work. This time, I'm not so sure. I know that there has been a lot around the mental health and eating disorders hashtags that they have been looking into. But a lot of the psoriasis posts, a lot of the hashtags that are used are empowering and really helpful to other people, um, and really keeping it real. So there might be some more negative ones there saying, my skin's having a flare, I'm having a really bad day. But mostly it's empowering and uplifting. And I think that especially when the first time that it happened, I was a bit like, oh, so Instagram doesn't deem my skin worthy enough
Yeah.
um for the platform. Yet if it was me in a bikini, it'd probably be fine. So it's just incredibly interesting to see how it plays out and what Instagram's response is this time.
Hmm.
But I'm I'm so disappointed that this has happened not once but now twice, especially because
Yeah.
there's so many people. It takes so much courage to
Uh-huh.
post a picture of their skin that isn't deemed acceptable by society. It isn't flawless. It isn't poreless. It's just their true skin. And I think
Yes.
for Instagram to then turn around and ban those hashtags, you're banning an outlet for someone. You're banning maybe something that helps people get through a flare. So it's taking that
Exactly.
positivity away.
I really hope so. Was that quite close together, the one previously and this one? Has it not been that much of a gap of time?
No, it's been almost a year.
Ah,
So it
right. Uh-huh.
happened at the end of February last year, and now it's happening again this year. So let's hope it's not a yearly thing.
I hope not, because like you say, it's miscommunication,
Mhm.
and at the end of the day, they've got to work. I know it's a huge platform, but they've got to work a bit quicker when it's an area that where people are really supporting each other. And sometimes,
Yep.
as you were saying, it can be hard to put yourself out there, but it can also be hard sometimes if you're going on to look for support to know where to start. And it doesn't
Mhm.
help
No.
if they've hidden a whole host of people like yourself that are actively trying to get things out there. So is it just a case, you have to forgive me because when it comes to Instagram, I feel like a dinosaur. Is it a case of they've hidden the hashtags or they've banned the hashtags? So now people looking for those would struggle to find nearly as basically hardly anyone compared to what they normally would do. So if they don't know you personally and they
Yeah.
don't know your handle, they're going to struggle to find you.
Yeah, so if they typed in hashtag psoriasis awareness, it
Yeah,
would come up with the top posts.
right.
But when you click on recent posts, it comes up saying that it's basically the content's been hidden because Instagram deems it offensive content. And I think that that's just something really, if you are a person of any age and you're feeling quite vulnerable,
Yeah,
especially about your skin, to go on and see that word that Instagram finds it offensive,
yeah,
especially when the amount of content that still is live on Instagram that
exactly.
really is offensive, it is just really sad. So hopefully this is something that can get fixed quickly, and hopefully it's not just a quick fix and it's something that they're actually actively working towards, because
Yeah.
it's causing more harm than good. The only positive thing that comes out of it though is that Instagram have really annoyed the psoriasis community.
Mm.
So there is now even more pictures of psoriasis on Instagram, because people are calling it out and people are posting photos and saying, don't hide me. My skin is beautiful the way it is. So
Yeah.
um,
Good.
that's one positive.
So maybe in the long run, it's really just the cause is gaining momentum because of something just, is it bots, do you think? Or is it
I don't know. I don't know
just,
what it is. I just hope it's fixed
yeah,
soon.
get it fixed?
Yeah.
And for anyone that wanted your Instagram name, where would they find you?
They would find me at the wee blondie.
which I love. I still think that's the cutest name ever. I love that. And still talking about Instagram, if they went on to it too, you're just back from China, and I
I am.
saw, how long were you there for?
I was there for 2 weeks.
And it looked amazing because you were there for Chinese New Year.
I was
And
Spring Festival and the Lunar New Year. Yeah,
how was it?
incredible, absolutely beautiful. Because of the Spring Festival and Lunar New Year, everywhere was decorated with lanterns, and it's the year of the pig this year, so there was lots of like pig lantern statues, and oh, it was just stunning.
It's gorgeous.
Beautiful, beautiful city. And we went to the Avatar Mountains down in Zhangjiajie. Apologies if I've not said that correctly. And we actually spent New Year there, hiking those mountains, and it was absolutely stunning. One of the most incredible experiences I've ever had.
Was it a brilliant way for anyone that lives in Scotland will get this? Was it a great way to start the new year because it's our darkest months, the days are short, it's cold, it's damp. Was it great just to have a complete change of scenery and just get out and get some fresh air and go and see things?
Yes, but it was freezing. It
Oh,
was like
was it?
-8. Yeah,
Oh,
and
so you were colder than us?
I had the thermals on. In Beijing, it was -8. So it was great to get out in the kind of sunshine and fresh air is questionable. It's very heavily polluted.
Yeah.
But it was very, very cold. But nice change of scenery. But yeah, I'd recommend going more springtime for a bit
Uh-huh.
warmer weather.
And can you see yourself definitely going back for another visit at some point?
100%. Me and David have already got it planned out.
Oh, excellent.
We just need the money to be able to do it.
Yes, you want to travel in style, don't you? You want to be
Yeah,
able to do everything that you want to do.
exactly.
This is purely foodie point of view because I love when I go on holiday to find out what's out there when you're nearby,
Yeah.
if there's any interest in street food. But I also love to know what other people eat. Did you go down the street food route, or did you tend to go for restaurants, places more established?
Nope, did a bit of everything.
Uh,
Tried everything, ate everything. Sometimes didn't ask what I was eating. Just
yeah, just eat it.
yeah. Sometimes you don't need to know. And it was awesome. The food there is incredible. Nothing like the Chinese we get kind of here,
Yeah,
which I was told is more Cantonese style, but been made very
right.
very British. But the food was just incredible, and some of the best food I've ever eaten. Honestly, would go back in a heartbeat just for the food because it was so
Oh.
good. And the different types of food, Buddhist, Muslim, Tibetan, it was just, yeah, really, really
It's
awesome.
gorgeous. Yeah, sometimes I've got friends that'll say, "Oh, I don't really eat when I'm on holiday. I'm too busy doing stuff." Part of the doing stuff for me is working out where I'm going for my next snack.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I
If you're
I
not
do not.
factoring meals a day, what's the point?
Yes, I don't forget to eat on holiday. It's part of the schedule.
I don't understand people who forget to eat full
Oh,
stop. I'm like,
no.
how? It's like,
I don't seem to have that problem. I never forget
nope.
to eat. But that also leads me on to you again. I saw on Twitter you were trying some products that you bought, and I had actually tried some too. Is it Innisfree? Is that how we pronounce it?
Innisfree, yep, I
Yes.
think so. Yeah, I love Innisfree. That was a really interesting experience because the lady at the shop didn't speak any English and I didn't speak any Chinese, so we actually did the whole shop via Google Translate, which was
Oh,
which was pretty cool.
that's
Um,
brilliant. See, technology.
exactly, it was awesome. I loved that store. I would have bought everything if I could, but I didn't. I just bought three products,
Yeah.
and I bought their cleansing foam, which
Hmm.
honestly, I don't think I'll use another type of cleanser again. I am
That's good.
obsessed.
And was the price, because I have tried Innisfree, but it was the sheet mask that I tried and I thought it was
Uh-huh.
amazing. And I
Yep.
thought the price was really good. And that was, I think I had to have it imported in here and I still thought the price was great. So what's the price like over there?
It was okay. I had a little bit of a freak out at first because it was
Uh-huh.
505 Chinese yuan.
Right.
So I was a bit like, oh my god, I've just spent like 500 quid. But that wasn't, that was like £50 in the UK.
Right.
So I thought for 3 high-end products, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good pricing. And then I priced it up if I was to price it in from America, and it was a lot more. So I felt better. But at first, when she said 500, I was like, oh, what have I done? But no, definitely worth the
Yeah.
money.
Especially like you say, if because I tend you either go one way or the other. If you're away on holiday, then it's all pretend money and nothing really counts. Or you panic about everything. And I've experienced both. It's like Monopoly money when you're on holiday. You're like, oh, just get it. Ah, it's nothing. And then
Exactly.
maybe if you do a little bit of credit card, which is dangerous, you realize when you come back and that bill comes in, you're like, oh,
Well, you
then
can't use card in
oh,
China.
can you not? See there, I'm learning.
Well, you can use card, but it's very difficult to use a foreign card in China.
Right.
You can only really use WeChat, or if you want to use card, it has to be a Chinese bank
Oh,
card, and cash is obviously accepted, but
yes.
it's really difficult. I think the only place I was able to use my card abroad was Starbucks in Beijing.
Really? See, I
Yeah.
didn't know any of this, so that's really interesting because that must have been something again when you were traveling that there'll always be someone that hasn't done their research. But if you hadn't have done your research, I sometimes if I'm traveling in Europe, I'll take minimal money and then I'll
Yeah.
take one of those cards that doesn't charge you a fee for when
Yeah.
they convert. But I think that's why you've got to do your research because you know there's going to be someone that'll be like, I'll worry about it when I get there. And
Well, I
go,
had actually done that. I'd only taken X amount of money and put the rest on a card. So luckily there is card machines. Like you can withdraw
right,
cash from a foreign card,
uh-huh.
if you know where a cash machine that will accept you to do that is. But it's not easy to do. In Beijing and Shanghai and bigger cities, I'm sure it's easier, but it was a bit difficult. And luckily um I was visiting a friend who lives there, so they had WeChat, so they were able to pay for a lot of times because a lot of places only accept WeChat payments. So even if you had cash, it would be WeChat only. So very interesting. But the thing about WeChat is you can't add your card to WeChat unless it's a Chinese bank card. So
Oh,
yeah, it's quite difficult. But
yeah.
so just take lots of cash.
Yeah, take cash and do your research.
Yeah.
And talking about the products, so I think we're the same as each other, but coming from different areas. My skin is sensitive, so it would break out very easily if it doesn't like something. And the breakouts could either be redness,
Mm-hmm.
I could get swelling, tends to be more my eyes though. Say if there's something perfume that it doesn't like, I just wake up the next day and look like I've been dumped.
Oh
So
no.
that's how I know that I'm sensitive. But the classic for me is if my skin doesn't like a product,
Mhm.
I can just get breakouts can come immediately, like within the next day or two. And then it's a case of putting back on an old favourite, a trusted product to get you back to where you were.
Yeah.
And then someone is lucky enough to get that new product from you for free that didn't work. And you just say, who wants a product? This didn't work for me. So
Yeah.
when you're trying new products. So that's why when I tried the sheet mask, I was nervous about it because it was absolutely saturated with the active product. And I thought, oh, if this doesn't work, if this doesn't go well, then I am absolutely soaking my skin in something that could potentially break me out. But it was so gentle that I had no issue at all. Do you find the same with it? Is it so gentle that you just had no irritation? You just felt, oh, right, my skin likes this.
Yeah. So I actually had to explain in the shop via Google Translate what psoriasis was. Because the lady was kind of like, well, I was asking her about products, and she was like,
Yeah.
"What's wrong with your skin?" And which seems really blunt, but it was
Yeah.
through Google Translate, and I knew she meant no harm. And I said to her, "This is what the chat is," and the products that she recommended me leave my skin feeling incredible. It doesn't feel as hydrated as some moisturizers would, but
Mm-hmm.
it's so soft, and I know it is hydrated. It just makes my skin feel incredible. And the second that I used it, I was just like, this is lush. This is
And you just knew.
luxury. Yeah, I just
And
knew.
without naming brands, because everyone's different,
Yeah.
do you know certain ingredients just forget it? Like for me, I know that if something's quite heavily perfumed, forget it. It's not going to go for me.
Yeah.
Is it? So you definitely know what kind of things do you go? Can't do that.
Can't do that. I can't do perfumes or fragrance.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I like to have things that are paraben free and hypoallergenic.
Yeah.
Um, but I wouldn't really say that, I have specific ingredients like that. But there's been so many times, like you said earlier, when I will be like, oh, I want to try this brand, and I'll spend a lot of money doing so. And then it's like, oh no, it irritates my skin, it
Yeah.
doesn't work. And I mean, like, £70 in a moisturizer to find out that it ruins your skin is not ideal. So
Yeah.
I now just ask for samples.
Good
I
idea.
I have no shame. I'm like, look, my skin is irate, and
Yeah.
I'm not spending that, so please give me a sample.
Because you're so right. And even though it can be really boring to do a patch test, I think once you've experienced a reaction that set your skin back, whatever your condition is,
Hmm.
most of the time, not all the time, because sometimes we get so excited, we just say, oh, I'm just going to try it. But a
Yep.
lot of the time, you just think, right, I've been here before, I'm going to be extra careful. I mean,
Yep.
dark circles, I think you either are bothered by them or you're not. And
Hmm.
I think genetically, even though sometimes people would say to me, oh, I can't see what you're talking about. I've always seen the dark circles, even in my teens. As soon as I could start using concealer, I was like, circles, remove the circles. And I remember easily 15 years ago getting
Hmm.
one of those little you get them all the time now, but they were quite novel at the time, the little saturated eye pads that you put under your eyes and
Yes.
saturated with product.
Uh-huh.
And whatever happened, this was a lesson learned. Put them on. Don't
Uh-huh.
remember it. It didn't feel tingly or itchy or anything, but obviously it was too powerful for my skin. And when I took the eye patches off, one of them had actually broken a capillary under my eye. It was way too strong. And see, once you've got a broken capillary, that's it. So the little red mark, I can still see it. It's
Oh
easily
God.
covered. But that was a little introduction to me about just thinking very carefully about what you choose to use. I mean, that's the most
Hmm.
delicate part of your face. It's the thinnest
Yeah.
skin. And I didn't give a thought to whether a product might be too potent, and I didn't give it a thought about what it could potentially do. So to actually put something on that was so strong that it broke a capillary, I was like, I wasn't chuffed at all. I was waiting for a miracle, when you're hoping when
Oh,
something's not went
yeah.
according to plan, you're like, maybe I'll wake up tomorrow and it'll have repaired itself. It's faded, but I can still see it. But it's things like that when I think you have to make a decision, like we were talking about before, about what you're going to buy into, what you're going to try.
Hmm.
I'm not swayed by images anymore. I don't know if that's an age thing or maybe when you find an area of interest, you just stop engaging with things that you don't believe. So now if I'm scrolling through social media, if I see pictures of adverts for the new foundation or a new moisturizer, a lot of the time I just scroll right on by because unless it's something that I'm deliberately researching or there's a company that's reached out to me to explain to me about new products, I tend to just see it as an advert.
Yeah, same. I'm very much the same. There's one blogger on Instagram called, you'll find her at Bambi Does Beauty, that I literally hang on to her every word and everything that she talks about, because she's had acne and bad skin before. So she's got very sensitized skin as well.
Uh-huh.
But apart from that, like if I'm flipping through a magazine, I'm like, oh, that beauty product looks nice, but I'm not going to buy it because of the
No.
advert. I just don't. For me, I think it's word of mouth. And when I say word of mouth, I mean word of mouth that I really trust. So
Yes.
it's got to be a trusted blogger or a friend or someone that I know is not essentially bad, but I know is not selling it to me because they're getting paid for it. And I think
Yeah.
that that's something that I try and do with all of the sponsored adverts that I do, is that I say to a brand, right, yep, let's partner together. Yep, here's the amount of money we're gonna Do send me the product, give me 2 weeks, and if after 2 weeks I don't like the product, let's have
Mhm.
another chat and see, because I refuse to promote things that I wouldn't buy myself
Yeah.
or irritate my skin. I don't care how much money you're paying me, I'm just not going to do that.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, that is not the case for everyone. So you have to be really careful with who you trust online.
Yeah. And I think again, like for yourself, you can't you can't say that something's worked for you if it genuinely hasn't, knowing that you've got a commitment with your followers and your community, that could be a lot of people that took you at your word, that then all end up with the same issue that you
Yeah.
kept hidden. Like, just a whole massive irritations. I think everyone's got to be, I mean, everyone gets irritations isolated from others. You don't know when you're going to be allergic to something or your
Mhm.
skin just doesn't get on with something. But I totally agree. You can't pretend that something was hunky dory because there's a bit of payment in it. Because
Yeah. And
no,
I think that for me as well, I always say that this worked great for my skin and
yeah,
my psoriasis, because psoriasis is so different for everyone,
yeah,
and everyone's psoriasis works on different things, reacts to different things. That's why there's so many medications out there for psoriasis, because it is an autoimmune disease, so everyone's works differently. And
yeah,
I never say to someone, this is going to cure your skin, this is going to be the psoriasis miracle cream you're looking for, because that's not true. And I always disclaim, this worked for me, but it might not work for you.
yeah. And that leads me on to people that are recognizable names that have come out to discuss their psoriasis. I think that's, to me, I think it's very helpful because it's people that quite often, well, the most famous one I can think of at the moment is Kim Kardashian.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's quite interesting when she speaks out about it because, on one hand, she's an expert at creating these flawless images, but then I can see that she's got the power to let you know when she's got a flare up. Or I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, I've seen some images where she's shared it, but I don't know what your thoughts are on that. Do you think that that's beneficial to the community?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do. Not just to the community, but to the wider.
yeah,
I think that Kim Kardashian is a role model. A lot of what she does, I don't agree with, but I love her psoriasis posts,
yeah,
because for me, it's saying that, do you know what? You might see, so many people look up to her and she's flawless, she's this, I want to be exactly like her. And for her to say, actually, do you know what? I'm not. I have a skin condition, just like I think it's 125 million people in the UK and the US have it. So just for her to be like, I have that too, I'm one of these people, it's very common. I think that does wonders for the community and for young girls who look up and aspire to be Kim Kardashian. I think it does great. Cara Delevingne's walked on the runway
yes.
with it, and I
Uh-huh.
think that's great as well, because it also says in the fashion industry that there's no holding you back with that.
Yeah.
Do I think fashion and beauty industries could be more inclusive? Absolutely, but hey, at least two major players in that are doing something about it and trying to um bring light to it and normalize it.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point about Cara as well, because you we'll never know, but maybe even as recently as 5, 10 years ago, there might have been models that had been told, because it's quite a brutal industry. They might have been
Mm-hmm.
told you can't walk today
Yep.
because you've had a flare up. Whereas now, I think we're very steadily realizing that it's absolutely pointless to say you're more than capable of doing this, this, or this, but you've got a flare up, so you can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But it used to stop. Again, they talk about, well, I'm sure it's not like that anymore. But have you ever read interviews with models or actresses where they've said, or even singers, that they had to scrap a shoot or they had to scrap filming because they had a spot?
Yeah.
And you
I
think, uh huh,
I don't think it would be as common these days, but I definitely still think it does happen, to certain maybe models and things like that. I absolutely still believe that it happens. And I think, there was, is it BB Rexa? I'm not
Yes.
sure, but designers wouldn't dress her because she was a size 8. So, like, these things are still very much happening. I just think it's done. I just think people are maybe not wanting to talk out about it more in case it ruins their career, sadly.
Yeah.
So,
But you're right, I read that recently, and you look at these people and you think, seriously? But it
yeah.
just goes to show it's still going on.
Absolutely, it's horrendous,
Crazy.
and I think that's why people like Cara Delevingne and Kim Kardashian
Yeah.
just raising even a slight profile about it and just being brutally honest about it is incredible.
Yeah. And I think that leads us nicely on to our final point, which is you are always so full of energy when I speak to you. Where do you want to focus your energies this year? So, do you have any goals that you're looking to achieve? Because I know you work with quite a lot of companies. So, have you
Mhm.
got already like things that you can't maybe talk about, things in the diary, or do you know exactly what the game is, the plan is for this year?
I have a few ideas that I'm trying to bring to life a little bit, but I'm also doing a lot of work with the Changing Faces organization as part of their youth action group.
Mhm.
And that's working with young people to kind of talk about face equality and things like that. And it's awesome. The youngest in the group is 10. And honestly, if I had half the confidence at that age, that would be, incredible.
Yeah.
I only developed psoriasis at 21. I don't think if I was their age with it, I would deal with it quite so well. They're
Mhm.
honestly so inspirational. But that's what I want to do more of, and more about face equality. But also I want to talk about a lot of dermatology departments are closing down across Scotland, and I'd like to try and do some work around that because it's just ridiculous that people have to travel so far to get an appointment. Um, I think that people think it's just skin, but I don't think they realize that the effect that can have on someone and all of the things that come along with that. So it's an exciting year. I'm still trying to plan out what I'm doing, but hopefully a few exciting things come of it, and a few projects are on the horizon.
Well, that sounds pretty busy, and I did not know about the dermatology departments. That's shocking.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's something that we're full on into Brexit, so it's not really
Oh,
something that gets talked about. And as one journalist has said to me before, skin diseases don't really kill people, so it's not really newsworthy, as they put it.
but it's the largest organ in the body,
I
so
know, I
uh,
know.
you
So
must
yeah,
have been like, okay, just grit my teeth, just
I just looked at him and I was like, uh huh.
yeah, you're like, just let that one slide.
Yeah,
Oh, well, best of luck. You know
thank you.
that I'm cheering you on in the sidelines. I'm just waiting for the day when I'm like, I know her, she's on the TV, I know her. Because I just think you're honestly on the ascent, and I just can't wait to see what you do next. And just honestly, I think it's so important what you're doing. And as you said at the beginning, you've made me realize that you aren't a blogger. You are actually someone that's out there teaching us things that we didn't understand about with psoriasis, opening our eyes to different things that we maybe hadn't thought about with it, but also working with these companies. So you're keeping these companies right, and you're interacting with them. And you did say, I don't know if you said it in this chat before, but I'm sure you've said to me before that you do test out products too. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes, if asked to, I will test out a wee product here or there.
Yeah.
Mostly in skincare, not
Right.
anything that's like prescribed.
Yeah.
But I do sometimes do that, just because it's always good to have someone with sensitized skin testing out
Yeah.
your product. And I love it too. I mean, I love a freebie. I'm not gonna lie.
Well,
So
yeah.
win-win.
You've deserved it. So thank you so much. And if anyone wants to see what you're up to, then is it the Wee Blondie everywhere? If they want to look for you, they'll find you at the Wee Blondie.
Yep, it's the Wee Blondie everywhere or the weeblondie.com from our website.
Oh, brilliant. And thanks, Jude. Thanks for
No,
speaking to
thank
me.
you. This has
Oh,
been awesome. I feel really excited about what's to come. I'm going to go make lots of plans now.
yay. Oh, I can't wait. I look forward to it.
No problem. Speak to you soon.
Oh, thank you. So that was my chat with Jude, and I hope you got a sense of just how much fun she is. She is one of the most energetic people I know. She is always there when you're having an event or you're looking for someone to add to a cause. You can rely on Jude. So if you haven't already checked her out, look at all of her social outlets. It's the Wee Blondie. And I hope she's inspired you if you either have your own psoriasis issues or similar skin issues. Then I really hope she has inspired you to take a look at exactly what's out there, different areas that can help you, whether it be communities or even products. And I hope you enjoyed. I will see you again soon, and thanks for listening.